Today, the world looks at Iran through the lens of geopolitics and headlines of crisis. We see a horizon of steel and the unyielding shadows of a regime. But the very stones of this land hold memories that time has tried to erase. To understand what is about to happen, we must step back in time. We are going to cross the decades and walk through the streets of an era many have forgotten. To see, in realistic detail, the world that existed before the shadows fell. From the glittering Paris of the East to the fires of 1979, and finally, to the high-stakes confrontation of 2026. This is not just a timeline. This is the rise and fall of a regime that shook the world. This is Iran. Our journey begins in 1960. Forget the Iran of today's headlines. What you are seeing now is a reality that feels like a fever dream of the West. This is Tehran, the city the world once called the Paris of the East. Under the ambitious gaze of Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, the last Shah, Iran wasn't just changing, it was being rebuilt from the ground up. Fueled by an unprecedented oil boom, billions of dollars flowed into these streets, creating a metropolis of modernist architecture, sprawling boulevards, and a lifestyle that rivaled London or New York. Walk through these sidewalks, and you will see something that feels impossible today. Women in high-fashion dresses, students debating philosophy in open-air cafes, and a rising middle class that believed progress would be eternal. Iran was the pillar of American stability in the Persian Gulf, a military and cultural powerhouse exhaling confidence. But beneath the glow of the neon signs and the luxury of imperial galas, a silent tension was beginning to vibrate. While the cities glittered, the rural heartlands remained anchored in centuries of tradition, feeling forsaken by a king who seemed to look only toward the West. Modernization was coming too fast for some, and at too high a price for others. The Savak, the Shah's dreaded secret police, silenced any whisper of dissent. Progress had a price, and the cost of freedom was about to be collected. The year is 1978. The mirage of modernity begins to evaporate under the heat of a fury that no army could contain. In the shadows of the mosques and the corridors of universities, a single name was whispered as a promise of justice: Ruhollah Khomeini. To the Western world, the Shah was an unshakable ally. But for millions of Iranians, he had become a stranger in his own land, a monarch living in crystal palaces while the soul of the country cried out for its tradition. The tension, built up over decades of repression and inequality, finally exploded. The streets of Tehran became a battlefield. What you are witnessing now is not just a protest, it is the total unraveling of a 2,500-year-old dynasty. On January 16, 1979, Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi left Iran forever, carrying with him a handful of Iranian soil and the end of an era. 2 weeks later, the sky over Tehran was filled with the roar of an Air France Boeing 747. On board, Ayatollah Khomeini returned from exile to be met by a human sea of millions. In a matter of days, the monarchy was declared dead. The imperial state gave way to the Islamic Republic. A veil fell over the nation, laws changed overnight, and the West's closest ally suddenly became its greatest adversary. The Iran we once knew had died, and something far darker was about to be born. With the fall of the monarchy, Iran did not just change its government, it changed its soul. The euphoria of the revolution was swiftly replaced by the cold steel of war. For 8 long years, the nation bled in a brutal conflict against Saddam Hussein's Iraq, a war of trenches and chemical attacks that forged a new generation of leaders shaped by sacrifice and isolation. The Iran that emerged from this trauma was a fortress. While the rest of the world globalized, Tehran turned inward, building an axis of resistance across the Middle East. But it was in the silence of the mountains of Natanz and Fordo that the regime began its most dangerous gamble, the pursuit of the atom. What began as a promise of nuclear energy became the greatest geopolitical headache of the 21st century. Crushing international sanctions turned the economy to dust, yet the regime did not flinch. We witnessed the diplomatic chess match of 2015, the flicker of hope in an agreement, and the abrupt collapse in 2018, as the world realized that trust had evaporated. On the streets, the cost was paid by the people. The currency plummeted, inflation soared, and a new generation, born decades after the revolution, began to question the price of an ideology that isolated them from the rest of the planet. Iran became a nation of violent contrasts, brilliant scientists operating in underground bunkers, while young people in the cities cried out for a freedom their grandparents once knew. The stage was set for the final reckoning. We have reached the present. March 2026. What began as a whisper of despair in the streets of Tehran in 2022, following the tragic death of Mahsa Amini, has transformed into a cry that the regime can no longer silence. Woman, life, freedom is no longer just a slogan. It is a deep fracture in the foundation of a half-century-old theocracy. The Iran of today stands at a dangerous crossroads. On one side, the cold glint of hypersonic missiles and a nuclear defiance that keeps the world on edge. On the other, a young, connected, and exhausted population that looks at the photographs of the 1970s, not with nostalgia, but with the burning desire to reclaim their own future. The headlines of this march speak of airstrikes and unprecedented tensions with the West. But the true battle is not just happening in the skies. It is happening on every corner, through every clandestine internet connection, and in the heart of a nation that refuses to be broken. The regime born from a popular revolution now faces its bitterest test, the very will of the people who created it. As we look upon the ruins and the glory of 2,500 years of Persian history, one truth remains: empires rise and empires fall. Kings are crowned and regimes are toppled. But Iran is eternal. Like the stones of Persepolis, the identity of this land has survived invaders, conquests, and shadows. Whatever the outcome of this spring of 2026, history has taught us one lesson. You can silence a voice, but you can never extinguish the flame of a people who have decided it is time to walk, once again, toward the light. The journey of Iran continues, and the next chapter is being written right now. The story continues in the next file. Subscribe, and I'll see you there.